Show me one place in the federal guidelines where you can have 10 machine guns and get 1 year of community service and 1 year incarcerated.
T.I. is in an interrogation room talking. He's snitching. I thought we don't talk to the police.
I'm the only one who's not offended by his brass approach, and he's not offended by mine. So, you know, we play rough, but we ain't no issue. It's a mutual respect, though.
If you know anything about 50 Cent, you already know one thing. You never want to end up on his bad side. T.I. found this out the hard way when 50 started ripping him apart over those old snitching allegations that have been following him for years.
Show me one place in the federal guidelines where you can have 10 machine guns and get 1 year of community service and 1 year incarcerated.
In hip-hop, snitching is like the ultimate crime against the code, and for a long time, T.I. has carried that weight on his back, with peers clowning him, whispering behind the scenes,
"You're fighting a man with no arms. Expect to get kicked. Niggas do what they can. Just do what they can."
And straight up disrespecting him in public. 50 Cent, he wasn't about to let that slide. He used that reputation as ammo and aimed it right at T.I. At first, T.I. tried to play it cool.
For your birthday, I offer you a challenge, sir. Pull your up, man, with 20 of your records.
Brushing off 50's shots and pretending it didn't bother him. But the more he tried to act unbothered, the worse it got. The whispers turned into loud accusations, and more people in the industry started calling him out as a snitch.
Hey, what's happening, y'all? Some people call me Tip, but this is about another kind of tip that can help our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, and our fathers help get the perpetrators who commit crimes against them off the street.
That label stuck like glue, and instead of laying low, T.I. did the unthinkable. He went and challenged 50 Cent to a 20-track battle on the Verzuz stage.
Where you at right now?
Can you imagine going head-to-head with 50, knowing how petty and ruthless he is? That's like stepping into the ring with someone who fights dirty and never backs down. Of course, 50 couldn't resist. He jumped straight on Twitter and dug up an old 2008 Crime Stoppers video.
Best rap solo performance, T.I.
How you doing? Thank you.
Hey, what you know about that? What you know about that? What you know about
Where T.I. is on TV, encouraging Atlanta residents to report crimes. In hip-hop culture, that kind of move screams, snitching. 50 didn't just post the clip. He slapped a savage caption on it. "Why do you make me do this? This is the first song I'ma play. You so tough, brutal." And just like that, what started as a battle challenge exploded into a messy, drawn-out feud that had the whole industry watching. The crazy part in all of this? These two weren't always enemies.
I heard T.I. was supposed to play Method Man.
Oh, yeah.
No way! And then I don't know if there was a beef or something happened, but then he never wound up playing, and then Method was Davis playing.
T.I. and 50 used to be cool. They even collaborated on tracks back in the day, moving in the same circles, showing love publicly. It's wild how fast the tables can turn in hip-hop when respect gets lost.
Never, that's not true. 50 and I, we were executive producers on a different show outside of the Power universe. But nah, man, me and 50 cool.
On paper, T.I.'s career looks bulletproof. He's not just a rapper, he's one of the most successful names to ever come out of Atlanta. He stacked Billboard hits like Big Things Poppin' and locked down a #1 anthem with Rihanna on Live Your Life. Add 3 Grammy Awards to his shelf and you'd think his status was untouchable. But T.I. didn't stop with music. He built an empire around himself. Back in 2003, he launched Grand Hustle Records. And since then, he's dipped his hands into everything from fashion to tech. He pushed his own clothing line, AKOO, invested in apps like Yupima, and even took on the role of an author with books like Power and Beauty and Trouble and Triumph. The man's a businessman through and through. Yet, despite all those moves and all that money, the respect just isn't there for T.I. in certain corners of the game. For years, people, especially 50 Cent, have questioned his credibility. And those whispers never really died. They followed him everywhere, from music to acting. In fact, in 2022, when TMZ caught up with Power Book 2, Ghost stars Michael Rainey Jr. and Gianni Paolo, the two hinted that T.I. was once considered for the role of slick lawyer Davis McClain. But allegedly, Because of his tension with 50, that role ended up going to Method Man instead. Now, I went on record to shut that rumor down, saying it wasn't true, but you know how the streets work. Once something like that hits the air, it sticks. People can't help but believe there's some truth buried in it. So where does this whole snitch label really come from? Why does 50 Cent and so many others treat T.I. like he can't be trusted? To get the full picture, you gotta rewind the clock and look at his history with the law. T.I.'s rap sheet is no secret.
Best lawyers money can buy. They said it would've got me 10 or maybe 9. I said, well, how do you explain how homie breathes? I said, to keep your mouth shut or you eat the cheese. You so tough.
Drug charges, weapon charges, probation violations. He's had his fair share of run-ins with the feds. But there's one case that really stamped that snitch stigma on his name. Back in 2007, just hours before he was set to perform at the BET Hip Hop Awards in Atlanta.
If I had an issue, when have you known me to be indirect with an issue?
Oh, you're pretty direct.
Right, so if I had a problem with any artist, trust me, they would know.
Is that line about T.I.?
Absolutely, for the public to decide.
T.I.'s world flipped upside down. The FBI and Atlanta police rolled up heavy, swarming him and slapping him with an arrest that would haunt him for years. When the feds swooped in, they didn't just find a couple of guns on T.I. They found 12 machine guns. And if that wasn't enough, 2 of them had silencers attached. Now, anyone in that position would already be in deep trouble, but here's the kicker.
To a conclusion. And when I heard him speaking on it, he said he wasn't talking about me, you know what I'm saying? And me and 50 always had a decent rapport, you know. It wasn't never nothing negative. At the same time, he said, man, he's never had a problem with saying people's names when he's speaking on them. And like, that's not like 50. If he going at somebody, he usually say their name and make it known. It's usually not ever whether or not.
I was a convicted felon. For someone in his situation, being caught with even a single firearm is serious. But 12 military-style weapons? That looked like a guaranteed decade behind bars. The question on everyone's mind was simple. How in the world was T.I. going to walk away from this without getting buried under time?
For your birthday, I offer you a challenge, sir. Pull your ass up, man, with 20 of your records, man. You know what I'm saying? But I understand if you don't want to answer to that challenge, because last time you got challenged, Kanye West dusted your ass off. So, you might not want to do that. So, well, guess who ain't scared of your ass, 50?
On October 26th, 2007, T.I. showed up in the United States District Court in Atlanta before Judge Alan J. Beeman. And somehow, despite the mountain of evidence, he walked out on bond that very same day, but it wasn't cheap. He dropped a jaw-dropping $3 million, $2 million in straight cash, and the rest backed by his property. The deal came with strings attached, house arrest, strict curfews, and 0 visitors unless the court approved them. The only people allowed under his roof were his girlfriend and kids. T.I. wasn't just locked up in his mansion, he was under a microscope. The legal process dragged on.
Please tell 50 bring his ass on out here and get this smoke.
Oh, Jesus.
Please tell 50 Cent get his hit records and come on and sit down.
By February 2008, T.I.'s suppression hearing was scheduled, and soon after, he struck a plea deal. He admitted guilt on federal weapons charges and ended up with a mix of punishments: a year of house arrest, 1,500 hours of community service, and the looming reality of prison time.
And he acknowledged that he received a message. He ain't said nothing about accepting that challenge though. All the comment talking about, oh man, 50 gon' do it. Man, I mean, y'all scared of that, not me. Tell me what 50 gon' goddamn do. Man, shut your scared up, get out the way, and let me handle this.
But T.I. wasn't about to let prison kill his career. In an MTV interview, he admitted he was already plotting moves behind bars. Presumably, while I'm there, I'll be able to strategize my comeback. He made it clear he wasn't just going to sit around, he was going to bounce back even stronger. By March 27, 2009, the hammer came down. Judge Charles A. Pennell Jr. officially sentenced him to 1 year and 1 day in federal prison, along with $100,300 in fines. It was a shocking twist.
Where you was at last night?
In Brooklyn. In
Brooklyn doing what?
Doing 50 Cent party, had a great time. Told me on the way, you got the jet already gassed up. Said don't come.
Yeah.
I said don't
What
come.
you say?
I said don't
You
come.
say what?
Boy, when I tell you that boy, Yayo, he either got a real problem some type of way, man. You ask me, you got some type of problem.
T.I. had faced up to 10 years and a $250,000 fine. Through his plea bargain, he dodged what many thought was inevitable. But here's where the whispers really started. Other rappers looked at the case and scratched their heads. How did T.I. get such a light sentence compared to others? People pointed to Lil Wayne. He got caught in New York with just a pistol and ended up serving a full year. Now sure, people will point out that New York's gun laws are some of the harshest in the country, while Atlanta plays it a little looser. But let's be real, T.I. getting caught as a convicted felon with 12 machine guns, 2 of them fitted with silencers, and only serving a single year, that doesn't just raise eyebrows, that sets the whole industry on fire with suspicion, even if you've got millions to drop on the sharpest lawyers. It's a serious stretch to think you could walk away from that kind of firepower with just a slap on the wrist. That's exactly why whispers started turning into shouts. People began saying the only way T.I. skated free was because he snitched. And once that rumor spread, it was like blood in the water. The industry never let it go. Some of his peers even said it outright, and one of the loudest voices pushing that narrative, none other than 50 Cent. The shots officially began flying when G-Unit dropped their second album, TOS, Terminate on Sight. On the track You So Tough, 50 threw in some bars that didn't call T.I. out by name, but the meaning, it was way too close to ignore. Everyone knew who he was talking about. 50 rapped, "What's today's mathematics? Ish ain't adding up. Get knocked with 10 machine guns, only get 12 months. Ooh. We don't talk to me, you talk to him, you talking to them. I got the best lawyers money can buy." They said, "It would've got me 10 or maybe 9. I said, "Well, how you explain how home breezed?" They said, "Keep your mouth shut or you eatin' the cheese." Those lines hit like a bomb. Eatin' the cheese. Straight up street slang for snitching. T.I. didn't have to be named. The verse itself did all the talking. Suddenly, fans, blogs, and radio hosts were buzzing, dissecting every lyric, pointing fingers, and dragging T.I.'s name through the mud. When MTV confronted 50 about the diss, he played coy. He claimed he wasn't calling anyone out specifically, saying, "When I go at somebody, I'm direct." But that was the trick. He didn't need to say T.I.'s name. By leaving it vague, he let the streets and the media do all the heavy lifting. When T.I. finally spoke on the snitching accusations during an interview, he brushed it off like it was nothing. And honestly, at that time, it made sense. The cops had him under a microscope, watching his every move, so getting into a heated rap beef with 50 Cent would have been like asking for more trouble than he could handle. Laying low was the only real play. That's why most people thought the tension would die out. In fact, for a while, it actually looked like it had. The two even linked up on tracks together, showing the world that maybe, just maybe, there wasn't really smoke between them. But when it comes to hip-hop egos, peace never lasts forever. Fast forward to 2020, and T.I. reignited everything with one bold move. Out of nowhere, he hopped on Instagram Live and called out 50 Cent to a friendly Verzuz battle. 20 tracks against 20 tracks. For those who don't know, Verzuz was born during quarantine as a way for artists and producers to face off, showcasing their catalogs in real time. It was less about fighting and more about proving who had the bigger legacy. But T.I. wasn't just being playful. He made sure to stir the pot. He challenged 50 right around his birthday week, throwing shade by reminding everyone how Kanye West once beat 50 in their infamous sales showdown. It was a slick jab, and fans immediately knew this was more than just a friendly invite. At first, people thought T.I. was just trolling, but then he doubled down. He posted another video, this time on the phone with Kevin Hart, who, funny enough, shares the same birthday as 50. That clip went viral instantly, headlines everywhere. 50, being the king of petty, wasn't about to let T.I. take the spotlight. He clapped back by reposting one of the articles about T.I.'s challenge, adding his own caption, "Yo, somebody passed T.I. the weed they gave Smokey and Friday, LOL. Classic 50. Dismissive, mocking, and guaranteed to get the internet laughing at T.I.'s expense." But T.I. wasn't backing down. He fired right back with another Instagram video, insisting that 50 acknowledged the challenge but was too scared to actually accept it. And just when it seemed like the back and forth was cooling off, T.I. poured gasoline on the fire again the very next morning, dropping even more videos. He claimed he even tried to fly out to 50's birthday party to show love in person and talk things over. Just when things looked like they might cool off, T.I. got a call from one of his homies warning him to pump the brakes. Apparently, G-Unit's own Tony Yayo had an issue with T.I., and showing up at 50's birthday party wasn't going to fly. Instead of keeping it private, T.I. and his friend jumped on Instagram Live to air it out, talking openly about the tension like the whole world wasn't watching. Tony Yayo wasn't about to let that slide. He slid straight into the comments and went for T.I.'s neck, accusing him of straight-up clout chasing. And that's when things got personal fast. The very next morning, 50 Cent came through with his trademark level of petty. He dug deep in the vault and pulled out that infamous 2008 Crime Stoppers clip. In it, T.I. appears on an Atlanta news broadcast, encouraging people to report crimes, something that, in the streets, gets you instantly stamped with the label of a snitch. 50 didn't just post the video, he slapped a savage caption on it. "Why do you make me do this? This is the first song I'm gonna play. You so tough." That hit hard! T.I. saw the post and clearly wasn't amused. He fired back by reposting the video to his own Instagram, this time with a long caption dripping with frustration. He mocked 50's move, writing, "I'll take this as an acceptance of this catalog challenge. We got him, he bit the bait. Set this issue up so I can finally shut this watermelon head, invisible neck guy up once and for all." T.I. doubled down, calling the clip old, outdated, and in poor taste. Much like your catalog, 50 Cent. Then he hit back with what he claimed were the real facts. "I have never given any information to any form of law enforcement at any time in life to get anybody anytime for any crime. Supreme told me to ask 50 Cent if he can say the same." And he wasn't done there. T.I. kept swinging, telling 50 to line up his songs. "So let's set this stage and select your songs off that one hot album you got. Let's lay your little overrated, outdated, steroid-inflated catalog to rest. R.I.P. to 50 Cent's catalog. I've seen you bully all them guys for years. Not the king, though." That response lit up social media. People couldn't believe T.I. went that far with the insults, mocking 50's career, his physique, and his whole legacy in one Instagram rant. But here's the thing. Despite all the snitching accusations that fueled the beef, no solid evidence has ever surfaced proving T.I. actually cooperated with law enforcement. What makes all of this even crazier is that T.I. has always presented himself as anti-snitch. He was so serious about it that he even booted one of his own artists off Grand Hustle the second he found out the guy had ties to the feds. Back in the mid-2000s, T.I. signed a rapper named Alpha Mega, somebody who seemed to bring raw street credibility with him. T.I. even put him front and center on his 2007 single Hurt with Busta Rhymes. But by the end of the decade, that credibility collapsed. In 2009, The Smoking Gun dropped a bombshell report exposing Alpha Mega as a DEA informant. He had been sentenced to 110 months on federal gun charges, and court records revealed he'd cooperated with law enforcement. That was all T.I. needed to cut ties instantly. By September, Alpha Mega was officially kicked out of Grand Hustle. T.I. went on Atlanta's Hot 107.9 radio station to explain why, and he didn't hold back. He said, "Even though all our artists and employees are asked by us to be honest and open about their past history, at no time did Alpha disclose to me or Grand Hustle what has now appeared in the media. He essentially deceived us by failing to fully disclose the truth about his past. And there is no place in our organization for dishonest and misleading behavior." T.I. doubled down, adding, "As I have always said, you must take responsibility for your own actions. We at Grand Hustle cannot support or condone the blaming of others for our own mistakes. I hope and pray God bless his savings plans, but I don't foresee me or my company playing a role in his personal or professional business." That statement painted T.I. as someone who stood firmly on principle. No snitches allowed in his camp. But years later, his own words came back to haunt him. In 2020, an old clip resurfaced from his Expeditiously podcast where T.I. admitted something that had fans and critics alike shaking their heads. He confessed that in the early 2000s, before his music career took off, he pinned a gun case on his dead cousin to avoid doing jail time. T.I. later broke down exactly how that infamous gun case with his cousin went down. And the story sounded like something straight out of a movie. He admitted that back in the early days, he and his cousin Toot were running a hustle in Atlanta, moving stolen high-end clothes. One night, they were parked up at Lenox Mall, unloading the trunk for a sale, when security rolled up on them. T.I. remembered it clearly. "We're in the parking lot, unloading, making the play. Dude's looking at everything like, man, y'all got We said, what you want? Get this issue and go." And right then, mall security pulled up. Instead of staying put, they jumped back in the car, trying to shake security. But security wasn't having it. They tailed the car and called in the real police. Before T.I. and Toot could even hit the expressway, the cops swooped in, lights flashing, pulling them over. That's when things got ugly. T.I. had a gun on him, and as a convicted felon, that was enough to bury his future before it even started. Toot, who had introduced T.I. to producer DJ Tump, the genius behind hits like 24s and You Don't Know Me, ended up being murdered before the case was settled. But according to T.I., his cousin gave him his blessing before passing. T.I. recalled the conversation years later on his podcast. "We caught those gun cases. Toot died. My lawyer said, well, you know, I could make everything go away if it was Toot's. It was Tremel." T.I. continued, "After he passed, I had a talk with him. Toot said, I'll take all the charges you got if you can walk away free. Put it on me. Goddamn right. Cause I'll be damned if they're gonna come and extradite me from here." In other words, T.I. claimed the charges shifted onto his cousin after his death, which meant T.I. walked away without doing serious time. Gun rights activist Nikki Daniels Jr., who was a guest on the podcast, pressed him about it, asking if this was where the rumors about him being a snitch really came from. T.I. quickly shut that down. "Oh nah, don't nobody know about that. I just volunteered this information. That's the only time I'd done ever said or gave information, because that's my big cousin." T.I. once explained it like this: he was dead, and he told me it was okay. That was his way of justifying putting the case on his late cousin. But whether people believed it or not, the truth is, despite all the drama, despite all the snitching allegations, T.I. is still stamped as a heavyweight in hip-hop. You can't talk about the rise of trap music without giving T.I. his flowers. Alongside Atlanta giants like Jeezy and Gucci Mane, he's recognized as one of the pioneers who took trap from the streets to the mainstream. Love him or hate him, his influence on the culture is undeniable. His grind started in the late 1990s when he linked up with local music exec Kawan K.P. Prather and signed with his company, Ghetto Vision Entertainment. That connection soon opened the door to a major label deal with Layface Records under Arista in 1999. By 2001, T.I. dropped his debut album, I'm Serious. But ironically, the project didn't make much noise. Critics were lukewarm, sales were flat, and it ended up being his only release under Layface. For most artists, that flop would have been the end of the story. But T.I. wasn't built like that. Instead of fading into the background, he reloaded. He signed with Atlantic Records, and within 2 years, his entire life flipped. By 2003, he had co-founded his own label, Grand Hustle Records, a powerhouse move that gave him control of his music and his money. From there, T.I. went on a legendary run: 3 Grammy wins, 19 Grammy nominations total, 12 Billboard Music Awards, 3 BET Awards, 2 American Music Awards, and a career stacked with hit records that defined an era of Southern hip-hop. T.I. cemented himself as more than just another rapper. He became an icon, a mogul, and a name forever tied to the evolution of the trap sound. Over the years, T.I. didn't just build his own career, he built a whole empire of talent. Through his Grand Hustle Records label, he signed and nurtured artists who went on to become global stars. We're talking names like Travis Scott, B.O.B., and even Iggy Azalea, all of them at one point part of the Grand Hustle family. That alone stamped T.I.'s influence way beyond just his own music. And his hustle didn't stop there. T.I. carved out an impressive acting career, stepping into Hollywood with roles in films like ATL, Takers, Get Hard, and Identity Thief. He even leveled up to blockbuster status when he joined the Marvel Cinematic Universe, appearing in Ant-Man and its sequel Ant-Man and the Wasp. That crossover into superhero films gave T.I. a whole new spotlight most rappers never touch. Reality TV? He checked that box too. From T.I.'s Road to Redemption to T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle, and The Grand Hustle, he turned his private life into primetime entertainment. And on top of all that, T.I. added author to his resume, publishing 2 novels, Power and Beauty in 2011 and Trouble and Triumph in 2012. By the end of the 2000s, Billboard even ranked him as the 27th best artist of the entire decade. His accolades, influence, and reach are undeniable. But here's the twist. No matter how many awards he racks up, no matter how many businesses he launches, the whispers about snitching have never fully disappeared. Some peers lost respect for him. Others never gave it back. Yet through it all, his fan base stayed strong. And T.I. continues to thrive as both a pioneer and a survivor in the game. If you made it this far, sound off in the comments. Do you think T.I.'s legacy should be defined by his contributions to music and culture, or will the shadow of those allegations always follow him? Make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you want more deep dives like this.